Bottom line up front, my wife of 6 months cheated on me, claiming a buildup of emotional tension that she hasn't been able to get out through me or her best friend over the years, only to go on a work trip and meet a colleague that she claims listened to her and was emotionally supportive. A little history about myself: I grew up as an only child in a rural town. I had a rough time as a kid making friends, and that is translated into me as an adult with very few friends, and almost no friends that I would consider having an emotional bond with. I struggle expressing feelings and emotions to others. The only people I could feel truly myself around were my significant others. I met my wife through work about 6 years ago, and we both instantly knew we were meant for each other. She was in a relationship at the time but was unhappy due to them constantly arguing and citing that he just didn't listen to her. Her and I grew closer over the first summer we met, hanging out almost daily with a group of other interns. Our work friends would do almost everything together: hiking, boating, partying, you name it, we'd all do it together, and her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. This eventually led to her breaking it off with him and us dating soon after. We were both head over heels for each other and destined to get married. Fast forward a few years into our relationship after buying a house together, and practically everything but married, and I'll admit, it had its ups and downs, but I felt we were still strong. Our arguments usually stemmed from me not doing my fair share around the house, or not showing my love enough to her. This is something I completely recognized and was working to fix. Not long after we got married, I began looking into getting evaluated for ADHD. My goal for 2024 was to get my mental health in check, ADHD and my suppression of emotion. Now back to about a week ago, she goes on work travel to Hawaii with one of her co-workers and this other guy, Jay, a few days in, and I get a funny feeling about him. My wife's texts to me seem cold, and the three of them are off doing everything together as their work only required 3 to 4 hours of labor a day. Well, the co-worker flies home a day early and it's just her and Jay their last day. This began to worry me and I went into anxiety mode and was checking her location constantly their last evening together. They went and walked around town, down to the beach for a few hours, then on to a nice restaurant that evening. Being that I was a few hours ahead in another time zone, I eventually gave up and just told her to get home safe that night. Fast forward to her flying home, and I can tell something was off. She was being very distant with me for a day or two, and mentioned that she was having a heart-to-heart with her best friend over text. I couldn't help myself and looked through her phone at the messages between her and her best friend and did not like what I saw. She was telling her friend about this guy, how they went hiking together and he was being so friendly to other people on the trail, making sure they had water and were doing okay. When they were walking down the street, he would always make sure that she was on the outside of the street. When they were at dinner, she felt like she could really open up to him and he would listen. She went on to tell her best friend that she was confused and that maybe she was just thinking the grass seemed greener on the other side of the fence. What hurt me the most reading that was I feel I'm a chivalrous person to my wife. I always open doors for her, will make sure she's on the outside of the sidewalk if we're on a busy street, will come home randomly with flowers, blah blah blah, but her describing someone else doing that was like my actions meant nothing. The only thing I struggled with that this guy didn't was the emotional support. I was upfront in telling her that I looked through her phone because I knew something was off. She admitted that she had an emotional connection with this guy, and that she felt she could finally offload years of emotional baggage that she couldn't do between her best friend or me. I broke down there and promised that I would work on fixing that side of myself, as it's something I always hated about myself and was right in line with my year goal of getting my mental health in check.